What's going on, dudes? Here's what we're going to be doing right now. I'm going to be giving you we're going to do it a little bit backwards. What I've been doing is I've been giving you an equation in y equals mx plus b form, and I've been asking you to identify the m or the b in this case. But in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an m. Let's say m is -2. I don't know why that pen is so light. Let me just switch it up. All right, m equals 2 and b is equal to 1/2. What is the y equals mx plus b form? It's pretty simple. All you got to do is just plug in the m and plug in the b. So this is y equals -2x plus 1/2. Let's change it up a little bit. Let's make it a little bit harder. I'm going to give you the m. The m would be -9. And I'm not going to give you the b, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a point that is on this graph. And I can tell you that the point that is definitely on this graph is 0,3/2. So technically I didn't give you the b directly, I just gave you a point, and I gave you the m. But if you look at it closely, if I wanted to write my y equals mx plus b, m being -9, I don't know what that b is, but actually I do. What that b is remember, what the b is the y-intercept. To find the y-intercept, you set x equal to 0. If you set x equal to 0, look, this point right here that I did give you has x equal to 0. So technically, this right here is the y-intercept. Even though I didn't give it to you specifically, like I told you, b was 1/2 or b was 3/2, I kind of did. So instead of b, I'm going to put the y value, or the intercept of that thing, when x equals 0, so I have 3/2. So that's my answer for that one. All right. Now we're going to switch it up a little bit. Let's make it a little bit harder. What if I did this? What if I gave you an m of, all right, m of 3, and I don't give you a b, but I give you a point that's on there. And here's the harder part is, instead of giving you a straight up where it starts off with a 0, so that way I'm technically giving you the intercept right off the bat. Let's say I give you just some point that's on that graph. Here's the problem that we have, is we don't necessarily know what the intercept is. Now there's a few ways we can figure out how to do this. I think the easiest way I'm going to start off with is the graphing way. And a lot of you say, well, why are you teaching me the graphing way if maybe it's the longest way? Remember, what I'm teaching you how to do is think like a scientist. So I'm trying to teach you how to go from this step, and then maybe we'll get a little bit more abstract and do a table, and then we'll go a little bit more abstract and just do algebra. So if I wanted to make a graph of this thing, I know one point on that graph, it would be -1, 2. So right about there. This is at -1, 2. Now, my slope is +3. Actually, I like looking at slopes as a fraction, so I'm going to make that 3/1, if that's right with you. It's the same as 3, so I can really do that, and technically that is a fraction. Now, that means I go up 3 and across 1. By across, I mean to the right 1. So if I'm hanging out here at y equals 2, and I go up 3, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go up 3, and I'm going to be up here at y equals 5, right? But I also have to remember I'm going to go across 1, so here's my jump there. So this is my second point right here. It is at the coordinates 0, 5. Because I started back here at -1, and when I went across 1, I went to 0. And when I started up here at 2, and when I went up 3, I went up to 5. So that's another point on my graph. I can give you another point. It's pretty straightforward. You go up 3 again, and so you're hanging out here up at 8. And you go across 1, so you're hanging out here at +1. So the other point is 1, 8. Maybe if we drew this on a table, it might be a little bit easier to take a look at. -1, 2, 0, 5, 8, this would be 1. I just keep adding 3 to this thing, so that would be 11, and 2, and 14, and 3. Now, I could go backwards, and what I could do is, instead of adding 3 each time, I could just subtract 3. So 5 minus 3 is 2, 2 minus 3 is negative 1. And then over here the pattern goes 3, 2, 1, 0, negative 1, negative 2. You're just going backwards. Essentially what you're doing on the graph is, instead of going, you're still doing a slope of positive 3, you're just saying that that's equal to negative 3 over negative 1. So instead of going rising 3, going forward 1, I would be dropping 3 and going backwards 1. Because dropping 3 and going backwards 1 is the same as positive 3, because negative 3 divided by negative 1 is positive 3. So you would just kind of start here and drop 3, 1, 2, 3, and backwards 1. So you would be at point negative 2, comma, negative 1. All right, that's the graph and the table. Now, reading from the table or the graph, it doesn't matter at this point. You can look at where this thing crosses the y-axis. It crosses at 0, 5. So my y equals mx plus b formula is y equals 3x, because that was the slope, plus 5. It's that simple. Now I told you that there was a more mathy way, a more algebraic way to solve this. This is the long-winded but very visually stimulating, like I get it now, graph or table. The more mathy way of thinking about this is we have, I'll do it right here, hopefully I don't run out of room. We know the slope to begin with. That's pretty straightforward and easy. Actually, not only do we know it or do we calculate it, that was just straight up given to you. So it's y equals 3x plus b. Now, gee, if only I had some number. By the way, imagine I'm erasing this. I'm not erasing it now just so that you guys can, not freak out and have to write everything down. But I'm doing this problem separately without any of this knowledge here. So y equals 3x plus b. If only I had a number for x and I knew the corresponding number for y, because then I would end up with a number like, I don't know, 2 equals 6 plus x. Maybe not an x, maybe let's make it a k or something like that. It's just some variable unknown. I can solve that. That's easy for me to solve. So if only I knew a number and its corresponding y value that is on a point that is on this graph. Shoot, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points that are on this graph. I know 6 points that are on this graph. But technically, I was only given one of them to begin with. So let's just use that one that we were given. So I can plug in that x value, and then the y value should equal 2. So 2 equals 3 times negative 1 plus b. Now if I want to solve for b, I've got 2 equals negative 3 plus b. Add negative 3 to both sides, and you get 5 equals b. Hey, that's the same exact answer that I figured out without having to make a table, without having to make a graph. I can just do it straight over here.